We grew up in a very household. One of my first childhood memories is being tied by my arms to a bunk bed, being beaten by my birther and her husband. I was by quite a few people for many reasons. One of them being I had a mother who didn't want to be a mother. She kidnapped us for financial gain. And whenever there was any type of a break from school, she would ship us off to people's homes who didn't win any type of parenting awards. My sister was not able to stay with us. She was taken very cruelly back to South Carolina after she complained about the step parent being inappropriate towards her. She was left on a dirt road. No one was told that she was being brought back, and that's because she was a rebel. Many of my older family members told me about my sister being at the age of 3 by a male family member, to which our mother responded by beating her. Flash forward to me being 16 years old, my birther beat me a lot. She beat me so much I thought that it was normal. When she beat me, she would have me to strip and bend over the commode. There would be black marks left on the ceramic from the belt. It was very degrading. Now, at this point, I'm living by myself because my siblings are 5 years and 6 years older than me. My sister didn't live with me. I only saw her during the summer. We were not allowed to mention her name or talk about her throughout the year. If we did, we would be beaten. My mother told me that the man that I was living with, her husband, was my dad, which of course I believed, though it was very confusing because I would see my biological father a little bit during the summer. And so my sister, being the rebel that she was, she would get our father's car and she would come to my grandma's house and pick me up. And I would get to spend a week or a couple of days with her and my dad. But this childhood memory that I have of seeing my dad, my sister was excited and my dad came in and my sister goes, "Do you not remember him?" And I remember staring at my dad because I wanted to remember him. So I didn't really say anything, but I could tell that my dad knew that I didn't remember him. And I remember seeing tears at the brim of his eyes that he didn't let go. And he pulled me in and he hugged me and he said, "I love you, baby girl." Me having been running away for 2 years, I was described as seriously truant. And I had a school principal at the time that believed in spare the rod, spoil the child. And so when my birther let her know that I had been running away, because I was running away, staying with other people, going to school, this principal gave the birther carte blanche to come to the school and beat the hell out of me. So that's when I stopped going to school and decided in my very young age that I have to confront this so that I can have a chance of a life. So this is when my birther and I had this conversation, her talking, me listening, around me having to come home to get one final ass whooping for all of the distress that I had caused her. So I went home. My grandmother, who had heart issues, ended up going into the hospital. I knew that I wanted to catch a ride with my grandmother back to her house to South Carolina. So I was like, okay, I gotta face this bear, which is my birther. So I go home. She's on the phone with my then favorite uncle, telling him what a horror I was, how I'm out in the street, giving up my lady purse to any and everybody. When the truth was, I was going to school and going to work. I said, "Mom, that's not true. Mom, why are you telling Uncle so-and-so this? That's not true." We somehow or another end up in my bedroom, which is what I wanted to do because it was on the front side of the house. And I had come up with a plan with my friends to pull a shade should I need it. My birther slapped me with a sneaker. I remember having the imprint on my face. She ended up choking me with the telephone cord and her hands were here and I could have bitten her hands, but I had been very conditioned to respect your parents. During the time that I had been running away and calling relatives to sort of get help, they told me about my sister having been at 3 and our mother never really being a good mom. And I asked her, "Is it true? Is it true? Did you beat for being?" And she responded by slapping me. And I asked her, like, how could you do that? Like, how could you treat her the way that you do? She's choking me. I'm not able to breathe. I'm having a conversation with myself around, why don't you just beat her up? I heard her go into the kitchen to the knife drawer because the knife drawer made a creaky sound. And I then, sort of like with the cord still around my neck, pulled the shades of my bedroom window. Then I hear a knock on the door. Fortunately, the birther went down the stairs, answers the door, at which point I leave the home by jumping out of a 2-story window. Broke my middle finger, ran across the street to the neighbor's house. They were both police officers and I would babysit their daughter. And they let me in. I was placed into foster care, group home. However, I didn't go to court or anything because my birther shipped me to South Carolina with her mom, who then began to perpetuate some of the abuse, calling me a whore. My birther would call every day to remind me of what a problem child I was. My only reprieve was spending time with my sister, who never really asked me what happened. I never really told anyone that my mom tried to kill me, aside from the police. I remember being mute for about 2 to 3 weeks. I wouldn't talk to anyone. I engaged in self-injurious behavior. I believed that if there was a God, that God obviously didn't love me, because I'd had such a hard life and because I was confused about who my father was. I never really asked my father for help because I came from such a emotionally unhealthy, mentally unstable parent. It left me susceptible to being financially, physically. My sister died when I was 19, tragically, in an auto accident after having been disposed of by her mother, our mother, who sacrificed her for another man, which broke me. In response, I joined the military. I was in a marriage with the person that was my boyfriend that me. And after she was killed in this auto accident, I had enough courage finally to leave this relationship that I never wanted to be in, only to end up in another relationship with a person that I describe as Jeffrey Dahmer-ish. He did inappropriate things to our children. The second person, I was 21 years old and I was married to him for 10 years. We had 2 children. We were both in the Army. He pretended like he was a friend and I accepted his friendship because he never talked about how I talked, whereas other people would sometimes pick on me. The bar to be his girlfriend was very low. I married him, though I didn't feel comfortable about it, but this was in the 90s. I was in a unit where people were very inappropriate. I had a first sergeant who always talked about the genitalia of the guy soldiers. Like, this was my everyday thing. So because this person had orders to Germany, I felt like, okay, if I marry him, at least I'll be out of this unit and people won't be knocking on my barracks door, soliciting me to have that I didn't want to have. However, it was one of the worst decisions that I could have made. So in 2019, I get these papers served that has my birther's name, who attempted to kill me, has my ex-mother-in-law's name, my children's father's name, to get guardianship of a special needs child. And that's when I got brave enough to hire a detective to see, was this just a dream? Did she really try to kill me? And I was then introduced to legally psychedelics to help me heal, which allowed some memories to be quieted and other memories to come up. And I've been speaking loudly ever since. I don't want my sister's death to be in vain. I know that she died brokenhearted, rejected, and I try to live a good life in honor of her. I started going to therapy. I went to Al-Anon meetings and I literally became the therapist that I needed, because when I would tell some therapists about my story, they would cry, which caused me to feel a lot of shame, but it also caused me to feel like I was a burden. So I have been intentionally working towards my healing, I will say, since August of 1996. And part of my healing is furthering my education. I used to be a special ed teacher. teacher. I worked with kids who also came from hard beginnings. And I felt like for me to be a better servant to them, it would be important for me to better understand the human brain. So after my dad died in 2001, I began my master's education in social work. And I have intentionally devoured everything I could and can about trauma since that point. Somewhere along your journey, you're going to meet a person who is going through what you survived. And the sweet, sweet taste of giving words to a person who has been oppressed and discarded vibrates way higher than being and becoming that which broke you. And I have integrity, and it's non-negotiable. And those are not things that the pain gave me. Those are the things that I decided to be. Find purpose in your pain, not an excuse. Purpose. That is what I would say. I've also written a book that has done its final edits and is soon to be in pre-sale. And that is in honor of my sister.